What's that noise?
And welcome back to another episode of In Lieu of Murder. This is Amanda Marie.
And this is Ainoa. We're here back again, and this should be a fun one, I think.
She thinks everything's going to be a fun one.
Oh, I have to stay positive some way somehow. Life is so dim.
One of us do, right?
But today we're doing. Excuse-moi. Today we are doing some Reddit stories. I don't know.
And for those of you that don't know, me and Ainoa didn't share these stories ahead of time. So, there's the surprise factor.
Yeah, let's just see. Let's just get play the intro and okay, so first and foremost, I must say, you do this to me all the freaking time. Did y'all see how I did not finish my sentence because Amanda just randomly played the intro?
I didn't know that you were gonna say something after the intro, so you said, "Play the intro," so I played the intro. I followed directions, I just did it very quickly, and you weren't prepared.
Oh, yeah, I was like, play the intro and man, my voice. I'm losing my voice. I don't know why. Mm.
A lot of
But
and I don't know how true this is, but I was reading okay. Those of you that don't know me don't know this, but I spend way too much of my life on the CDC websites. It's who I am as a person. Um, but no, real life, I am. Y'all know that I have a disorder, so I check the CDC website to see how bad the levels are of certain contagious things like pneumonia and things like that, so that I can be prepared physically to leave my house. Which sounds like a really horrible life, but it's not that bad, y'all. Um, but because I check the CDC website so much, I read a lot of stuff that I probably don't need to. And I was reading recently that this is the first winter that pollen and allergies are so high.
oh,
And so, with a little bit of a sore throat or some things like that, don't freak out. You can't get strep over the phone. Um, or I don't
despite of
think you
what I
can.
say.
Yeah, I don't think you can via video either, but I can't be positive about that. That is more intimate, and usually you're within 6 feet of your phone. So, but um, the sore throat is probably coming from like nasal drip from allergies.
That might be the case, and I think it's funny that you say that you read the CDC website a lot, and you find information that you probably don't need to read. The other day, because my daughter's sick, I was thinking about opening an onion and like cutting an onion and like putting it in her nightstand because I've heard like old wives' tales like say that it helps with the coughing at night. So then
Mhm.
I Googled it, right? I was like Googling, does it really work? Blah, blah, blah. And I came across, did you know that there's actually a national onion authority? It's like a
Like
whole,
like a police department for onions?
yes, like they go to like they go to like Washington and everything. Hold on, National Onion. Yeah, the National Onion Association or National Onion Authority. Um, it's I'll read the about us. All about hold on. Advocacy, onion advocacy. They have onion advocacy. Says the National Onion Association plays an integral role in helping craft policy and regulation in regards to onions. Agriculture and research in Washington, D.C. As part of our onion advocacy, our leaders go to the Hill regularly to keep track of highly important issues of AG workforce reform, global trade, invasive species, research and funding, pesticide regulations, agricultural issues that are important to all growers. So this is like a legit, you know, legit thing.
I feel like I do not know what is going on in the world when we have a National Onion Association.
Yeah. And it says that their regular involvement helps us keep the onion advocacy top of mind in Washington. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things in Washington to keep top of mind. Onions is probably not like one of the the top things I think of
Oh, no, I'm
Washington.
joining. Do they have a apply to join section?
They may. I haven't looked that much. I mean, I did
I
look that
mean,
much
I could
into
put
it,
it
but
on my resume. Member of the National Onion Authority.
yes, they
And when
even
people are
have
like,
a
"What do you do?" I
mascot.
fight for onions' rights.
Yes, they even have a mascot. It's like a red onion and it's dressed like a ninja. So it's like a ninja.
So it's just a ninja and people are saying it's an onion.
Well, it's a ninja, but the head of the ninja is a red onion. Like not the red, like the purple looking ones. I think they're called red onions.
They are
Uh,
called red onions.
there you go. But yeah, I found out that there's so I too read things that
You
I
shouldn't.
not that I shouldn't, but that have like no relevance to my life. Like I did not need to know that there was an onion.
So I know that this sounds random too, but you spoke about old wives' tales.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that every time that I've had like a really deep, like a deep congestion, like a mucus that I couldn't get out, like my chest hurt really bad, but nothing was coming up.
Mhm.
I was always, well, I don't want to say I was taught because it's not like something my mom enforced or anything, but I have always put a potato in my sock when I went to bed
My mom did
because,
that to me.
oh, did she? So you understand, it's and y'all, it works. It'll bring that stuff to the top, man. It'll make you start coughing it up. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest thing I've ever, because I was like, how does a potato help me do this
I don't
on
know.
my
I mean,
feet?
yes, on your
And
feet.
then I get really nervous, and I don't know about other people, but I get really nervous that I'm gonna smell like potatoes. So the next day when I get up and I do that, I always soak my feet in something else because I don't want to have potato feet. I think
I
that'd
don't
be a
know.
really weird nickname.
I always thought when I was little, I was like, man, these potato because I mean, it wasn't terribly comfortable to be honest with you. It wasn't
No,
super, yeah, but I was like, maybe they're like absorbing all of my illness, like all of the illness is just absorbing into the potato.
I mean to an extent it is,
Yeah,
and it's because potatoes have antioxidants in it, and I didn't know that. I mean, I know onions do too, but I mean,
it
do potatoes have a national potato authority? Because if not, I'm gonna start one.
I have no clue, but listen, I just got this great idea. You get sick, you put the potatoes on the sole of your feet so they absorb all your sickness. Then you plant those potatoes. And then when the potatoes
And
come
then you're gonna
out,
have foot potatoes.
sickness potatoes that you feed to your enemies.
Oh, this could be
Yes.
phenomenal.
I know, right?
I wonder
Like
if that's what's happened whenever they've recalled potatoes in the past.
like, would you like to come for lunch? I made you some potato soup. But, but yeah, we should, probably get into some of our stories because
Sorry, I just gotta say this really quick. My brain just went to when you said you should come for lunch. I was gonna say, but what can you even make with potatoes? Like mashed potatoes and all that's not made from potatoes. Like, is that even an edible food? So sorry, guys. Okay, so do you wanna start or do you want me to start?
I can go.
Alright, go ahead.
So, this, user, is that what we call Reddit people? Users?
I don't like the word user. It sounds like they're an addict.
So this person says, I'm pressing charges against my brother, and my whole family is now torn. I don't know what to do. So, for context, I, 22 female, have a brother, 24 male. For the sake of this post, I will call him Mike. Mike and I have never really gotten along growing up. And he had gone to prison for 5 years when I was 17 and just got out last year. It was probably the longest me and him ever went without arguing about something. Well, because he was
He
in
was
prison.
because she could ignore his phone call.
Exactly.
Okay.
So on Sunday, my brother came over to my grandmother's house. I had been living there with my husband and children to help take care of my grandma since she's dealing with Alzheimer's. And I was in the kitchen making pizza since I had just woken up. Who the fuck makes pizza, right? I'm sorry. Has nothing to do with pizza in the morning.
I'm guilty.
Okay. All right. My husband woke up about an hour or so before I did and had already gone upstairs into the kitchen and spoke with my father and mother. Information I didn't know until after everything had happened. While I was in the kitchen cutting the pizza, my brother called me from the living room. I told my son, 4-year old, to go see what he wanted and to get me if it was important. My son went into the living room to ask my brother what he needed and came to tell me that he just needed to talk to me. I went into the living room and was met immediately with yelling and screaming. I had only been awake for 20 minutes by this point. So I was super confused and I asked him what he was talking about because I had no knowledge about any previous conversations that had taken place in the house. He was yelling about my husband not helping my father out with yard work. My husband had injured his shoulder at work a couple days prior. I asked Mike what he was talking about because I didn't know anything and he just got into my face and started screaming that I needed to get out of the house because all I was doing was taking advantage of our family. 20 minutes after waking up, like you start yelling at me, that's a problem. Because I'm not awake by then and I'd be in a pissed off mood. But, anyways, I left the living room and went into the family room where my three children, 4, 1, and 2 months, were and told my oldest to go downstairs into the basement. When I turned to get my 1-year-old daughter, my brother had followed me into the family room and was only inches away from my face and was screaming. I was put into a PTSD attack because of how he was acting. I had been diagnosed with PTSD 3 years prior due to an abusive relationship I was in. I pushed him to get away from me so I could get to my daughter and my 2-month-old son to take them away from the screaming. As soon as I turned to start walking towards my baby, who had started crying due to the noise, he grabbed the back of my neck and started punching me until I fell down to my knees.
What?
I know. I ran to get my husband and told him what was happening. My husband was outside on the phone with his father because we were supposed to go over to his house to pick up something we left over there. My brother followed me outside and started screaming again, and things kept escalating. He threatened to kill my husband. And when I heard that, I ran inside, grabbed my phone, which was on the table next to the playpen I had my baby laying in. I immediately called the police and took my other children downstairs. In the basement, we have a TV, a PS5, so my husband put on Spider-Man game for my 4-year-old to play while I talked to the police. After the police talked to everyone and got statements, my brother was arrested since he left a giant bruise on my neck where he had hit me. My dad thinks I should drop the charges because my brother was out of prison in good behavior and could be sent back for the rest of his sentence, which would be a 6-year term. I told my husband that I will not drop the charges against him since I wasn't the first time he ever hit me, and I refuse to let him keep doing it. My entire family is really torn about the whole situation, and my uncle, who was there when it happened, bailed my brother out of jail. I am still messed up about it since it all happened so quickly, and I didn't even know why my brother was upset in the first place. My dad has been acting really cold to me since I won't drop the charges, and I'm starting to feel like I may be going a bit too far by pressing charges. I don't know what to do. My dad has talked to me about me moving out of my grandmother's house since it happened, and I don't know what to do. Should I go ahead with pressing charges? Should she go ahead with? There is an update, but I think, I mean, I think she should go ahead with pressing charges first and foremost. I don't know about you.
So
Um,
this is a hard one, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a hard one.
why?
Anybody with, in my opinion, um, anyone with a sibling knows this stuff happens. I mean, I can remember fights with my sisters that led to bloodshed a lot. um, Not to say that we were toxic individuals or anything, but you
Nah.
know, emotions fly high in a household full of girls. And so it's hard because, okay. So I was going to say she needs to drop the charges all the way up until she said this has happened before.
I'm
And it,
guessing before he went to jail.
right, but still, that means that she had a traumatic enough experience
Sh-
with what happened the first time. We're just not gonna. Did your cat just break something?
Yes, she just threw a flower pot on floor for no fucking reason because she's an asshole. Can I press
Listen,
charges?
the entire podcast just heard her do that because I heard the glass shatter.
That little shit.
So I saw her get up there, and the way she was walking made it look like she was walking on your shoulders. And the entire podcast also saw that, but you were telling your story, so I want to interrupt. I didn't know she was going to circle back and murder something.
Yes, she's a bitch. But
Um,
continue.
so at the point that you said, it happened before, a part of me is like, if it was that traumatic for her the first time, maybe she does need to press charges because maybe it's the only way she's going to deal with what happened.
But not just that. I
However,
mean, okay.
yeah, I
There's a
have a
however.
however.
Okay.
Um, she pushed him first. And I understand that she might not have left a mark, but he was just talking in her face. And according to police, once someone lays their hands on you, it is self defense. And he didn't put his hands on her first. She did.
Okay, yeah, but she says that she pushed him. If she was continuously, he could have pushed her back, or if she was hitting him, he could have restrained
None of
her.
that matters in a self defense law. I mean, if she presses charges, more power to her. If her family wants to be a jerk about it, though, they could take his side and
It
get him
feels
a
to me like
lawyer
they
to
are.
fight self-defense.
I mean, it feels to me that they are taking his side, but from what I read, from what it reads, is like just the fact that he gets charges pressed on him could send him back to jail because he's only out for good behavior. But if he commits any crimes while he's out, he's gonna have to go back to prison and finish his sentence,
Right.
right? So, and that's 6 more years to finish out his sentence on top of whatever it is that, if he does get s found guilty. My thing is, I understand the whole, she pushed, self-defense scenario that you have going on, but you also have to have, like, an equitable, like, response. You can't just like, if somebody pushes me, I can't just pull out my gun and shoot him in the face. You know what I mean? Um, it
You
doesn't make
can in
sense.
Georgia.
Okay. But, well, I don't know. What I it is tough because it is family.
See, and this is my thing is I ultimately feel like yes, something should happen to him, especially because he was bold enough and sister or not, he still put his hands on a female.
Yeah.
And I'm strong believer in that you don't do that.
Not
But I don't think that 6 years should be his punishment.
Yeah, I mean, not only that though, Amanda, and you say, "Oh, he was just kidding," but he threatened to kill her husband.
I didn't never say he was just kidding.
No, I'm saying maybe he was just kidding. Maybe he just said it because he's angry, but he spent all this time in jail. I don't even know the reason he went to jail in the first place.
So have you never been so heated that you threatened to do something to somebody you had no intention on doing? Because I can tell you I've threatened to murder people on almost a daily basis my entire life, and I've never murdered anyone that anyone knows of.
Okay, well, I've gotten really angry with like family members of mine, like my mother. I've gotten really angry with my mother, and I've never threatened to kill her.
That's because your mother is scary.
She'll come and haunt me.
Well, I mean, she won't even have to. She'll, like, find a way to make her spirit haunt you even while she's alive. It's anyways,
I don't know. There
but
is an update. So let me
yeah, what's
so
the
the
update?
update, thank you all for the advice. I talked to my husband about everything and he agreed that we should get a protection order as well. To answer a few questions I saw in the comments, my grandmother owns her house, but her will is set up as a trust, so once she passes, the house will be sold to, and the money split evenly between her three kids, my dad, uncle, and aunt. I told my parents I was concerned about the condition of my grandmother because my uncle's health had been declining and he could no longer cook for her, which is why we moved in to help in the first place. Since I moved in, I had been the primary cook in the house, making sure my grandmother was has healthy meals. We were planning on buying the house next summer, but since everything has happened, we have moved up our move out date and we'll be buying a house before Christmas this year. Me and my husband will be paying for a nurse to come check on our grandmother or my grandmother because I am still concerned about her health and worried that when I'm not there, no one else will put in the effort to care for her properly. I really appreciate all the advice given and definitely will continue to press charges against my brother. Thank you for all the comments. So it seems like she's gone ahead and decided to press charges. Um but that I mean that's a tough one. I Because it is family after all, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there has to be some accountability. Because maybe maybe he is a violent person. The thing is, I don't feel like I have enough background information on him to
Agreed.
make like a decision on like my opinion.
Well,
Um
and if getting an order of protection is a viable option, like getting the order of protection and then not keeping the charges so he goes back to prison, it's kind of a win-win for her only because she doesn't have to deal with her family butting in anymore.
yeah.
But I think a part of me would feel jaded by my family if I made the decision to press charges and they were upset with me about it. Because I mean, it's completely up to the person that it's going on with. I'm not a person that likes to press charges. I'm
Just like to
probably
handle it on your own.
well, I mean, and I don't even want to say that because I'm really I talk a lot of trash, y'all. But if I ever really needed to do anything, it'd probably be a phone call, not a me handling it myself kind of thing. I just know the right people. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding, but I am, for the sake of the podcast. But I, no, what I was saying is if I felt strong enough that I had been that wronged that it warranted him going back to prison for 6 years and my family turned the other cheek and was like, "He doesn't deserve that," I
Mhm.
would never talk to my family again.
Yeah, and it feels like that's what's happening here. It feels like they're giving her the cold shoulder and like completely disregarding what happened.
But see,
Like,
and that makes me wanna know, like, what the true past is with this situation,
yeah. And not
you
only
know?
that, but it feels like the her premature move from the house. I mean, probably has a lot to do with I think the dad's probably wanting them to move out. Like, this is, kicking them out of the house for pressing the charges on her brother.
I
So,
mean, that or she no longer feels safe there because the uncle thought she was wrong and the uncle lives there too, and,
Yeah.
It's really that's the only thing I don't like about family dynamics is everybody's family is so fucked up.
Yeah. And it almost feels like from what he said. So when the brother said you're taking advantage, it almost feels like like in families when there's like conversations like behind closed doors. It almost feels like the dad or the mom or the uncle had been talking to the brother, like feeding his head about how like the sister, his sister is like taking advantage of the grandmother by living there like rent free. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it feels like they had been, conversations had been going on behind closed doors, behind, her back. And
Yep.
maybe that's why he was so fired up. It wasn't just the lawnmower thing,
Yep.
not mowing the lawn. Is I feel like they had been talking to him about how her and her husband are taking advantage by living there, and now the husband doesn't want to help with mowing the lawn and all that shit. But I don't know. She went ahead and pressed charges, so hopefully it'll turn out good for her and for her family. I don't know. Now, do you have one for us?
Nah, you can go again. No, I'm just kidding, y'all. So so the first one I'm just gonna do really quick. It's super short. So don't start talking right after me. But I only wanted to bring this one up because we were just talking about, how some people are quick to call the police and some people aren't.
Mhm.
And this person on Reddit says, I know that if you witness a murder, then you're obligated to report that to law enforcement. But what if you witness jaywalking? Where is the line drawn? Yeah, I just want to make this very clear for everybody. If you ever call the police on me for jaywalking, we gonna fight. But yeah, so I wanted to bring that one out there because when I was looking into these Reddit things and bringing up some true crime stuff, I was like, is that really a question on? And people are like, yeah, you can report that. Listen, all those Karens out there in the world that are reporting people for jaywalking, I really, really, really hope that you wake up in the morning craving cereal and you don't have no milk. And that's
Yeah.
all.
I mean, no, I was gonna call her a Karen too, obviously, but I mean, I just how shitty does your life have to be, and how like bored do you have to
Right.
be to
How
like
do you have that much time?
yeah, oh, he's not properly walking. Okay, so let me tell you something,
Well,
and
sorry.
here
I'm so
no,
sorry. Go
you're
ahead.
good. I don't know if anybody's driven down the road, but here in America, like crosswalks are not that convenient sometimes. Like there's not that many of them. Like if I want to get across the street, I might have to go to something. I might have to go up like 3 blocks to go to the next crosswalk. That's unreasonable. Like there's not
Well, and
if
this my biggest thing with this entire situation is not the fact that they're asking. It's the fact that they witnessed this. They came home and then they wrote a Reddit. So they were like dwelling on this jaywalker for hours.
not only that, but they're comparing it to murder. I know you're supposed
Right.
to.
Like that's a big jump in difference in crimes.
I know murder,
Like
jaywalking.
you could have at least compared it to speeding because they're both traffic crimes,
No,
you know?
no,
Murder.
murder. Oh, that one's funny. Do you want to do another one, or do you want me to go with the
Yeah.
next one?
So the one I was actually gonna do, I just thought that one was funny, was um so can I report this even if I don't have as evidence? This person wrote, I was sexually assaulted 3 years ago. It is still within the statutes of limitations. The problem is the messages that I had on my previous phone with my abuser admitting part of what he did has since been deleted. I was truly upset and didn't think that I might need this stuff later on. I would like to file a report against him as he keeps trying to come back into my life, more so for closure than on my end. Can this be done?
Hmm.
So I actually know the answer to this one, but that's not really what I want to discuss. Yes, it can be done if anyone out there is wondering. You can press charges against somebody when it comes to any kind of sexual assault without the evidence of them admitting they did it.
Yeah.
It may not go all the way to trial and they may not end up in, but if you're truly just doing it for your own closure, like you just said, then reporting it would be the final thing to do and it wouldn't matter if it goes further. So, but for the sake of argument,
Mhm.
any single item that is deleted on a cell phone or computer can be retrieved as long as it is not past a 5-year mark. I'm assuming that because the abuse happened 3 years ago, that the admission of the abuse would have happened within the 5-year span. So you
Yeah.
can still retrieve that information. Even when people are like, "Oh no, but I went into my deleted items and emptied my trash completely." Okay, none of that matters because you can reset the phone back to a certain date from your computer, like, you plug the phone
Mhm.
into your computer and do that as long as you do it within 5 years, and the only reason a 5-year thing is installed at all is because on phones, logically, people don't keep phones for that many years anymore. So
Mhm.
that's why they set it up as a 5-year, deletion, full deletion, of anything you deleted. So, yeah, and then with computers, it can be forever. It just really depends on the manufacturer and how new the computer is, that you can still retrieve deleted files.
Oh, see, well, maybe she didn't know that because honestly, I didn't know that with the phone either. But yeah, no, I mean, she could. What you said was right. She can report it, but the only thing is, without having evidence, um, the chances
Yeah,
of
but I mean,
him.
and what throws me off is, it doesn't throw me off that she wants to report it after 3 years. She probably never thought that she'd have to deal with him again, especially once he admitted the abuse.
Yeah.
But for him to come back around or whatever, my thing is if she's truly doing it for closure, then report it. What can it hurt? They're going to say, "Oh, you don't have proof." They're not going to ask for proof. If you go into the right department, they're going to say, "Do you have any proof?" And if you're like, "No," they're going to say that's okay because it's never the victim's fault that they don't have. It's not your fault if you can't prove the crime. But if you're doing it for closure, then yeah, report it. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like to me you're doing it for closure if you're that worried about the evidence, though. It sounds like to me you're doing it to seek justice. And maybe justice to you is the closure, but I can promise you that whatever happens to them is not gonna give you the closure you need
Well,
because
I
the
don't know.
closure that you need.
You can't say that. It may. Like if he goes to jail for the crime, it may bring her some sort of closure. I don't know. Okay,
It
if
might
Law and
bring her
Order,
some satisfaction,
yes, and if
but
Law and Order,
closure comes from healing.
yes, but maybe that's part of the healing. And if Law and Order has taught me anything, is that, you know, getting the sexual offender arrested and convicted is a form of closure for the victims. Not only that, but some victims do never report or take forever to report a crime, which makes it kind of hard. But it's
Oh, no,
just
I know. I mean, with my situation, it was way out of statute of limitations, and so and the person that abused me later took his own life. I found no justification from any of that because the healing that people need comes from the closure that people need comes from healing, not from ruining someone else's life. And as screwed up as that sounds as people, because we're supposed to, you know, eye for an eye is supposed to be how we live. That's not really how the psyche works. I thought that at the point that the person that abused me took his own life, that I was going to feel some satisfaction.
mhm.
And I was going to be like, yeah, he deserved it. Da da da. He knew he was messed up. The reality was that I felt guilty. because I had wished secretly a million times that he would have done that. And then when he did it, I was like, "Wait, was it my fault that he did that?" You know? And so, and people can say, there is, I'm not gonna say there's not satisfaction, because there's always gonna be satisfaction from justification, but it doesn't actually help with the closure, because in order to find closure, you gotta find healing. And to me, it sounds like this person is way too close in your life if they're trying to weasel their way back in or speak to you again. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's why you're now seeking retribution.
Yeah,
Uh,
which to be honest with you, how fucking dare they?
right. Listen, every bone in my body wanted to comment on that Reddit thing, but it's really old. But I really wanted to comment on it and be like, girl, kick him in the nuts. Like, you that close to me, back up.
Oh, yeah. No, I shoot.
You shoot?
Sorry. Shoot, no, because I was like trying to
Well,
open
you
up the
definitely said
next.
that. See, now we know. See, I know it's really the shooter around here. You should live in Georgia.
Hmm. I should. I should. But let me go on to the next one.
All
So,
right.
this one asks, am I the asshole for making a girl move classes after she called the cops on a door? I don't understand what this means, so we're going to read the story
Okay.
because I did not know you could call the cops on a door. Like if the door hits you in the face, you could be like, 911, what's your emergency? I don't know. So let's see. Hi, Reddit. Um, I am 19, male. I'm in a nursing program. We do a lot of physical exams on each other to practice, which involves wearing shorts and tanks. It's important to mention I am permanently blind in one eye. I'm constantly running into walls, doors, railings, plants, people,
Same.
animals, everything. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. This is probably not appropriate, but it's just funny. As you can guess, I'm covered in bruises 90% of the time on my blind side. Oh, whew, okay. In the course of one day, we were talking about signs of abuse, and the teacher said constant bruising. I raised my hand and added that it's important to talk to the patient if they're an adult before calling the police, as it could be something else. She asked for an example, so I rolled my sleeve and explained that the bruises were from door handles of the school, which were varying colors and heights. She nodded and agreed. She said, with children, we call the second we suspect abuse. With adults, we attempt to talk to them first, and if their reason seems valid, we don't call. The lessons continued, and a weekish later, the cops showed up at my door. They t- they told me they got a report that I was being physically abused, and I was always covered in bruises. I told them about my disability. They checked my home, talked to my family, saw no further signs, and I asked questions next. They got my address from the university because they take abuse seriously here. And when they talked to the university about me, the university was very concerned and just wanted to help me. After the police left, I talked to some people at the university, including a psychologist, just so they could be sure I had no mental signs of abuse. Then life went on. When I was still coming in with the bruises every day, and one of my classmates came up to me. She told me our classmate Kay was telling people she was thinking about calling the police again because I'm still covered in bruises. Oh my god. I got my classmate's report written down alongside a few others and waited. Sure enough, police showed up again. Same song and dance, but this time I told the university that Kay was using the police to harass me and I wanted something done about it. The university decided best course of action was to move her from my labs to the other ones so she couldn't see whether I was bruised or not. She's now told me I'm an asshole and that she was just trying to help me and I didn't need to mess up her whole university schedule. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? I don't know. Listen, to add insult to injury, not only are you blind and hitting yourself with every fucking doorknob in the fucking school, but now you get the cops called to your house to check on to see if you're abused. And not only once, and you have to go see a psychologist, but then again, even after explaining that you are blind on one eye and that's why half of your body is always fucking bruised everywhere. I don't think he's the asshole for asking the
Listen,
university
I
to move
don't
her
I
classes.
don't either. And I listen, as I'm not blind, but I don't know how many of y'all know this, but ADHD comes with this like weird blindness thing where you run into things and you're really clumsy all the time. And when I tell you like and then I have the disorder that I have, the hypogammaglobulinemia, and that causes me to have like really thin skin. So like you can flick me really hard and I bruise. So, the fact that my ADHD makes me walk into every piece of furniture that has been in the same exact spot in my home since I've lived here the last 3 years, but I still walk into it. And then me barely being able to be tapped and getting a bruise or reacting to it, it I could definitely see how people out there may think I get abused. Um,
But can you
but if the
imagine then
police ever showed up at my house for it, I'm gonna ream them a new one because because I'm not saying it's wrong to try to help people. But if you ask somebody and they tell you like no, nothing's going on, that either means like, hey, nothing's going on, or it means mind your business. You can't help someone that doesn't want help.
that is true, but I mean, I don't blame the police at all because I think the police
No,
were
the
doing their
police were
fucking
doing their
job.
job. They
Yeah,
were
I
doing their
wouldn't.
job, but I think Kay needs her little ass beat.
Yeah, no, I feel like it honestly, if she kept doing it after the second time, if she did it a third time, I think it would be time to like press like harassment, whatever charges against her. Because
I think that he did the right thing by pressing it the second time. Because listen, girl, I don't even know you. Why you in my business so much? These bruises don't affect you at all. And I already told all y'all, but I'm not gonna lie. If you was ever gonna hear a made up story, tell me that this don't sound like a made up story. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm pretend like I'm him. No, officer, no one abuses me. I just walk into doorknobs at different heights all the time. That kind of sounds like a made up story. And it kind of sounds like it's coming from a teenager that has a hickey.
exactly, no, it does, and that's maybe why they wanted him to see a psychologist, to make sure that. Oh God, I feel so bad for this man, but and I feel like the police did the right thing, obviously, and sometimes they have to investigate because I know like the police have come to my house before and asked me if everything was okay, and I'm like, yeah, everything's fine, and it hasn't been, but I've said,
Same.
yeah. I mean, this is not recently, just FYI. This was like back when I was.
Right. All of a sudden, you're going to start getting an influx of police showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, she said on her podcast that she's not fine.
No, this was back when I was like, well, I don't know, 20 some
Oh, I thought you said this
20.
was back when I was one.
Yes, back when I was one, the police came to my house. I was like, no, everything's fine. No. Back when I was like 20 in my early 20s, I think. So yeah, no, sometimes people do say, "No, everything's fine, officer." Just cuz, but
Well, it's because in front of your abuser. What do you say? I mean, I did the same thing, in my last relationship. They showed up at my door and they were like, "Hey, is we got some calls? Is everything all right?" And I was like, "I don't know who would call. We're absolutely fine. We're in bed." But if they had opened my door just a little bit more, they was gonna see that the whole house was trashed.
listen, to be honest with you, so when the police officer showed up at my house, I I wanted him gone as quickly as possible, but also mainly because I had been um engaging in some illegal recreational activities and my eyes were like burning.
And by saying that, y'all, she means she was jaywalking.
Yes, I was not murdering anyone,
Right.
jaywalking. But I think we have maybe time for one more story if you want to take this last one. And
Okay.
yeah, all
I
right.
think we have more time for more than one, but I'm gonna do it. So, well, the good because this one's gonna take a little bit of time, y'all. Because this person wants to know if they should report themselves.
Okay.
All right, so I'm a college student returning home for the summer break. I go to school several states away and was making a 20-plus hour drive home to South Florida. I spent all day driving. I was super tired and I didn't want to spend any money on a hotel if I didn't have to because, again, I'm a college kid. I'm broke.
Mhm.
I called up one of my sorority sister who lives in the Florida Panhandle and asked if I could like stay the night with her. She says that she's out of town, but gives me her address and tells me I can crash there at her family's beach house. She gives me specific instructions on how to enter the house through the kitchen window since there's no spare key outside. And says she leaves the kitchen window unlocked so that her and her friends can get in there whenever she knows, and her family knows everything about it. So I didn't think anything of it. I drove to the beach house, entered through the kitchen window. It was very late. I fell asleep on the couch without using the bathroom or even looking around or anything like that. The next morning, I woke up and realized that I was not in the right house. I
Oh,
didn't know what to do, so I cleaned up the couch as quickly as I could and left as quickly as possible. I was able to
um,
figure out when I went to the house that it was across the street from my friend's beach house. I did not intend to break into this house, and I'm worried now that I'm going to be reported to the police, and my fingerprints are probably somewhere in this house for sure on this window. Also, no, when leaving, I found out this house had security cameras, but I have no clue if they were turned on or not. Do you think that I should go and turn myself in? Y'all, I think
um,
this is the most hilarious story I've heard in a long time because it is an honest, especially if your friend's like, yeah, just go through my window, and then that kitchen window just happened to be open. That is an honest mistake.
yeah, and it was nighttime, so I don't think I would turn myself in. I think I would have left them a note or something.
I
Hey,
wouldn't have listen, when the police came, I'd have still been like, "Nah, I thought that was my friend's house. The window was unlocked."
just play dumb. I don't know. I think I
They're
would
like,
have.
"Ma'am, why did you still go back out through the window? Like, why didn't you use the front door?" I only laugh because me and I know y'all know we've known each other for a real long time, and I really feel like this is something she would call me the next day about. Like, I feel like this is I know a, and this is why it's so funny to me because I feel like I know it would call me the next day and be like, "Amanda, I just slept in somebody else's house." And what do I do? And
That
again,
would
I probably give horrible advice because I'd have been like, "Girl, don't tell nobody."
listen though, that would be me though. If anybody's gonna break into the wrong house, it's gonna be me. I would definitely not see shit at night and go into the wrong house through the window. I think I would I don't know. I think I would leave a note, which is really stupid because then they can probably do like a match. I would overthink everything. I would be thinking, no, if I leave them a note, they're
I
gonna be
think
able
that
to
she's
match my
overthinking too.
handwriting it. Yeah, I
Well,
think
yeah, I think she's overthinking too because she was like, "I'm sure that my fingerprints are at least on the window." What if you didn't take anything, why are they gonna think anything's wrong to call the police and say, "There's some fingerprints on our window out here"?
listen, there are women out there comparing jaywalking to murder. Okay, so I feel like depending on whose house that is, they would call the police on her. But not only that, I mean, she is a one person in a whole state. Unless she is like in CODIS and her fingerprints are in the system, they're never gonna find her, to be honest with you. Unless she then
Could
commits
you
a crime.
imagine that she, like, applies for the FBI in 10 years? and they come back with, "We found out you burglarized the home 10 years ago in
I
the
mean,
Florida Panhandle."
and it's a serious charge. It's like breaking and entering. Is not
Right.
like so like if you go to the police, I wouldn't go to the police because if you fucking go to the police and don't they take this seriously instead of laughing at you, um, you can actually go to jail
Yeah, if
probably.
anything, I might call my friend and say, "Hey, do your parents know the people that live across the street?
Street,
Like, can
yes.
you put me in contact with them? Like, hey, guys, my bad."
You
And you
have a
know what? I would
comfortable
even do
couch.
that. I'd be like, "Hey, tell your parents what happened, but don't tell them my name."
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's one of those things where it's like, I want them to know that I accidentally slept in their house, but I don't wanna go
mm,
to jail for it.
I know. I feel like she should just remain quiet. I feel like the more you stir the shit, the more it stinks. So just
So, hey, if
let
y'all
it
live in
be.
the Florida Panhandle, check your beach homes to see if anyone's slept on your couch and check to make sure your kitchen windows are closed, because apparently
Um,
it's a thing out there.
but Amanda, just so you know, now if we're ever on the road trip in the Florida Panhandle, I
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
why
no,
I
we're
want
golden. We're golden.
we
I'm gonna check kitchen windows. We're sleeping somewhere for a hotel.
exactly. I don't know why I wanted to say manhandle instead of panhandle. The Florida manhandle.
Florida Manhandle. Maybe that's what
'Cause
it should be called. "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're just gonna head down to the Florida Manhandle this weekend."
it sounds kind of sexy. I don't know. But thank you guys for listening. Have a
Like
good
and
night.
subscribe.
Yeah, do that.
Disasters you can't resist. From first dates to court dates, we've got it all. So grab a seat and join the fun. In lieu of murder, we're number one.